My name is Robyn Kidwell. I'm Ray's cousin, which doesn't sound super official, but I, in a previous life, was a preschool center director. I worked in that capacity for several years with the same company for actually 8 years, which I was very proud of. And when he started his business earlier this year, and it began thriving, and he was being really successful. Not only was his business very successful, but he had the support of our community. They were giving him offers, like offering him the lot, offering to create a lease with him. It was really exciting for me because now this created an opportunity for me and my family to move back to our community. I guess a little backstory, I was living in Florida at the time. So me and my family were really separated from community, from family, and we needed an excuse to come back. I was looking for a reason to come home, and this was it. This was the perfect opportunity because my cousin had a family business. He wanted me to be involved, and it had the support of our community, which was head and shoulders above and beyond what so many of our peers have. Most of the other treaty truck houses, the other small indigenous entrepreneurs like Ray, were in litigation with their communities. They were being taken to court, being arrested, and we were different. Our community was saying, here, we're gonna make this lot for you, we're gonna create a lease for you, you have our support, which meant that we were safe, we were protected. So I moved. My family relocated, dropped everything and left, and here I am attending court with Ray because our community shifted gears and they no longer wanted to offer us that support, and instead they wanted us to vacate the premises. So everything's in a bit of upheaval right now, and we're all a little worried. So it's a little sticky because I want to say my community. I want to call them our people. Our chief and council are an Indian Act band, so even though they're supposed to be the people who are representing us and looking out for our best interests, unfortunately, at every turn they're proving that they are an extension of the federal government, and they are going to act in the best interests of the federal government every time. When they first started, I think it was just Ray and one other partner were operating pretty solely and independently for a while. As business began to increase and profits began to increase, he was able to add more staff members, more people to help operate his business, like on a day-to-day level in the shop, and then more people to help with manufacturing of the herbal body care products that he had been doing by himself for so long, and it provided a lot of opportunities for our family and members of our community to have jobs, myself included. I am a very lucky individual to be able to say that I have a salary paid position at a treaty truck house, which is, I feel like it's kind of unheard of. Like I consider myself really lucky for that, but then also I help Ray in his operations, his day-to-day management, and we have 19 staff and counting. I think we just had someone training yesterday who is able to provide for their families. So myself, I have 4 children, and I'm the sole provider for my family. I know that of those other 19 employees, one employee is a single mom, so she's the sole provider for her family. 2 of our employees are on community band members, and several others just live in our local community who are this is their sole income. It is their only job, and without it they'll need assistance elsewhere. Proud to speak about, because I'm so proud of Ray. Don't make me cry. One of the, oh gosh, I guess, unofficial mission vision statements that Ray has is that he wants to provide herbal medicine to the people who need it in a way that's most accessible. So even for a very long time, prior to actually opening his brick and mortar Treaty Truck House, he was operating this business out of his home. And so prior to opening his brick and mortar, Ray was operating out of his home and operating all by himself and not making any money. He was losing money creating his products and selling his products because his unofficial mission or vision statement is that he wanted to provide herbal medicine for people and make it as accessible as possible. So even when he didn't have a place to sell his products individually, he wasn't even operating a website. He was creating these wholesale lists and bringing them to other truck houses, other dispensaries, really anywhere that would accept them, and wholesaling them for not enough money. He was making no money to ensure that these people were able to resell his products at a rate that was going to allow other people who needed them to be able to access them without, breaking the bank. And so one of the products that he makes is called a body butter, and the ingredients include magnesium, DMSO, CBD, bear grease. It's a top selling product. People love it. People rave about it, and it works. And Ray's been producing that for years and making little to no profit. He makes CBD capsules for pain relief. His menu does include like an entire section that's entirely dedicated to pain relief, including bath bombs and Epsom salts, just anything that your body needs to heal. So aside from THC products, marijuana flower, his original like herbal body care line is entirely dedicated to health. That was really frustrating to hear. It was really frustrating to hear and really difficult to watch because the judge really wanted to paint this image of Ray that you run a business, you have all these employees, you showed up without representation, you can do this yourself. And she really, at every opportunity, tried to portray him as somebody who was fully capable, and then at the same time make him stop speaking every time that he tried. I have a close family history with Ray, so I know what he's capable of, and it's a lot. He's proven that. But he like everyone has areas that he struggles with more than others. So I have a lot of experience in business operations and management. I have a lot of experience with oral and written communication, and those are my strengths where they're not his. So that is kind of how I operate. That is what I do for Ray, whatever he needs. And watching him be put in a position where he was asking for help and expressing where his deficits were, and not being able to help was really difficult. While he was standing before the judge, she would make it a point to present as if she were there to help. So she would say things like, well, I will explain this to you and then and then help you ask these questions. And so she really put on this guise of, I'm going to walk you through this because you don't understand. And then every opportunity that Ray was presented to speak or express himself, the moment that she recognized that he was planning to defend his treaty rights, she would cut him off and tell him that you're saying the wrong thing. No, that's not what we're speaking about today. If you're going to try to go in that direction, we're ending it now. And I think that she did that. I think that she capitalized on the fact that he was inexperienced in court proceedings, and that he expressed that he didn't understand. So even when he was well within his rights to move the conversation in that direction, she would reject it and cut it off. You know, speaking to the sheriff specifically, as an Indigenous person, a person of color who has lived in America and in Nova Scotia, I approach authority with caution in that sense. The sheriffs who were present at the courthouse that day they seemed very supportive. The conversations that we were having with them were all generally very positive. I remember at one point, one of the sheriffs made it a point to approach Ray and praise him for his composure and for his patience, because the proceedings were really difficult to watch. And the judge, Gail something, she did not have the patience for what we were there to do that day. She was not interested. She was very, very careful to make sure that we were not allowed to address our treaties, our treaty rights at all. She was very, very careful to make sure that the Constitution was never discussed at all. And I think that that's because if we were able to steer the conversation in that direction at all, it would have been over. If at any point we could have actually been able to articulate that these proceedings had no business in that courtroom at all, it would have been over and she would have lost the control, which she was not willing to do. So she had a lot of control over anything that happened in that courtroom. If anybody made any kind of sound or mumbled or any expression of dissatisfaction with what she had to say, she was ordering them to be removed. Several people were removed from the courtroom. Several people had their outbursts and removed themselves from the courtroom. And at one point, the conversation that the dialogue she was having was just so outrageous that everybody else chose to disrupt the proceedings and leave. And so she called a recess. We all had to go stand in the hallway until she was ready to let us back in. She gave us a little timeout, I guess, so that she could compose herself. So when I was on the stand first, they had Ray examine me. I was the witness, one of the witnesses that he called, and so unfortunately neither of us were prepared for that. We weren't expecting to have Ray self-represent. I wasn't expecting to be on the stand at all. So, normally I feel like when people are prepared to go to court, they prepare for those things. We didn't expect to have to, because we came in with some representation, and it was really uncomfortable for both of us, I think. But Ray did a really great job. He stayed very calm despite being interrupted every time he tried to speak by the judge or by their attorney, basically telling him he was doing it wrong. So a lot of the time that I did spend up there was the judge making sure that Ray asked the questions the way she wanted them asked, which was just new for us. But through the examination, a lot of the points that I was able to make then were that, as far as we were concerned, we were still in litigation with our chief and counsel. Not litigation, we were still in negotiations for our contract. So we then had a chance to kind of explain that, yes, we were offered a proposed lease that looked like an unfinished draft in August. We responded within the appropriate time frame that they asked us to, and we proposed a new lease. The same lease, but with some modifications, and they did respond. On September 9th, we got a reply back from Mike Peters saying, hey, just got back from vacation, sorry about the wait. We're gonna look over this with Chief and Counsel, and you'll hear back from us in a few days. And then we heard back from them October 29th via a cease and desist from their attorney. So Mike Peters, no other council members, Michael McDonnell and Andy Upton it was crickets from them the whole time. We didn't hear, hey, no thank you, bad deal, or, ooh, interesting, let's think about it, nothing. We weren't expecting to just receive the cease and desist, and I think that the story that they had been trying to tell all along was that, they proposed a lease and we just refused it, which wasn't the case. When their attorney was cross-examining me, they really tried to push this idea that we broke a series of verbal agreements with them, which included damaging the lot, putting our stormwater drainage at risk, and possibly electric. They brought that up several times when cross-examining myself and one of the contractors that we had there working for Ray, and that also just wasn't true. So I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to be able to have that conversation as well, because the lot itself was never damaged. There was no digging done at all, and the building that we erected is a temporary building. It's not connected to electrical, it's not connected to water, it's not even actually being used. It just got finished being built. But one of their claims was that we erected a permanent structure that was in direct violation with our verbal agreements. And I could go back and forth all day about the validity of a verbal agreement and also what constitutes a verbal agreement. Is it just, hey, we want you to do this, and we say, all right, well, think about it, we had a deal? Me personally, I don't think so, but they kind of lost their standing by the end of it. So that, they called us there and gave us an opportunity to talk, and then realized that they were in the wrong. So by the end of the hearing, they could have gotten what they wanted. The judge didn't give us the adjournment, and she was going to pass their their motion? What is the word?
Their interlocutory injunction.
Their interlocutory injunction. They got it. They could have won. But fortunately, I think that Ray did such a good job standing his ground and giving us all the opportunity to speak that we were able to be heard, which is what we've been fighting for all along. At no point did we want this to be something that we had to fight in court. We wanted to negotiate a lease with our chief and counsel. We wanted to play by their rules. We were willing to do all of those things. And I think that once they actually were forced to listen to us a little bit, they realized that, and now we're getting the opportunity to put a hold on their motions to get us out of there, and then we'll be able to come back and fight for our treaty rights. Because right now, they wouldn't hear anything about our treaty rights. They refused to discuss the Constitution. We had to play by their rules in that courtroom, but because we were able to get that little bit of extension, I think that we're gonna have an opportunity to steamroll. So after we received the cease and desist, and it shocked us all, because as far as we were concerned, we were still in negotiation. We were still negotiating a lease. The cease and desist was really surprising for us, and so our panic response was, we need to have an emergency meeting. That's something that our community has done before. We filed a petition. The women who are sitting here right now went door to door within our community and collected over 26 signatures stating not even just we support Gloocap's Finest Herbal Body Care, stop what you're doing, just hey, we think that we should be having a meeting as a community to discuss this. And that's exactly how we delivered it to our community members. Hey, whether or not you support Ray's business, do you want to come and talk about this? And there was overwhelming support. So we gathered all the signatures and submitted it. Our anticipation was that we were going to hear back from our chief and council within 30 days because that's within our bylaws. And we have not. And they ignored it. But whether they took that information as, man, they have overwhelming community support, we need to do something about this, or just, oh, this is gonna cause a little bit of a problem for us. I think that it did impact their choice a little bit. They have put out, they sent out a note to everyone saying that we were gonna have the opportunity to discuss this as a community January 7th, I believe, which is also after our next scheduled hearing. So they're not actually willing to hear what the community has to say about it. They're just pretending. They're going through the motions to say, okay, this is what you wanted, we're going to do it, but it's a song and dance. It's performative.